A few miles off the coast of Texas lies a forgotten, relatively little-known island that contains the ruins of a Cold War Air Force base, an abandoned Civil War-era lighthouse and cemetery, and plenty more, much of which I've already covered in my previous videos on this channel. But more recently, I've observed evidence and heard reports of a forgotten Civil War battlefield, an abandoned Confederate fort, and even the supposed remains of a lost 200-year-old city, complete with buildings, infrastructure, and even city streets, all of which sunk to the bottom of the ocean, much like the legendary city of Atlantis. But could this really be possible? Can it be that Texas has its very own lost city of Atlantis that is hundreds of years old? As I scout the island's treacherous, marshy interior using Google Maps, there are long zigzagging lines that stretch all the way across the island, and they seem to be man-made. Were these simply old roads or something else altogether? Whatever it was, I believe the answers lie out there, in the dark, mysterious swamps of this mystical island off the coast of Texas. So today, I've assembled a team, and together we'll be attempting to locate and explore the reported locations of the lost fort, the sunken city, and the anomalies that we found on Google Maps. As our boat skims over the water towards the island, we're not sure what to expect, but something tells me this will be an adventure for the books. Matagorda Island is located about 5 miles off the coast of Texas, and exploring this surreal, enigmatic place can sometimes make you feel like you're traveling back in time. We're approaching the taxiways over there. Wow. That's wild. In fact, from the very moment we set foot on dry land here, our surroundings immediately begin to intrigue us. All around us are the remains of Matagorda Island's abandoned Air Force Base, a now crumbling military installation that was used mainly for training purposes during World War II and subsequently the Cold War. I've already explored it before in a couple of my previous videos, so if you'd like to learn more about it, please feel free to click on the link provided. After leaving the ruins of the abandoned Air Force Base behind, we hiked for several miles before finally beginning to approach the approximate whereabouts of the strange lines that we found on Google Maps. Once we're near, we launched the drones in an attempt to pinpoint the exact location of the anomalies that we located earlier on satellite view. Sure enough, we find the mysterious zigzagging lines almost immediately. So what are these enigmatic, clearly man-made decaying ruins, which at one location even stretch clear across from one side of the island to the other? After surveying the area and comparing our findings to the research we've been doing, we begin to put the pieces together. These indented lines in the dirt are actually the abandoned remains of trenches, earthworks, and even artillery emplacements constructed in 1863 to help Confederate infantry and artillery units protect the western flank of the legendary Fort Esperanza, a powerfully built and heavily armed sand fortification that was located about 4 miles northeast of these works, at the extreme northeastern bulge of Matagorda Island. Armed with at least 9 guns, Fort Esperanza had been designed to protect the Texas coast from the Federal Navy, and eventually a network of trenches, barriers, and gun emplacements dotted the fort's vicinity on the island. And many of these ruins are still visible today, over 160 years later. So we're walking in a Civil War trench built in the 1860s. This is one side here, and on Google Maps there seems to be some kind of round gun emplacement. At least that's what it looks like. Some wild stuff. Can't believe this used to be a trench. But it just goes to show the kind of conditions that these soldiers would have had to put up with while building and manning the trenches over here on Matagorda Island, Texas. This is wild. Gonna watch our step, but it's fascinating. So these would have been the battle lines that were drawn right here at Matagorda Island between the Confederate and Union forces during the Civil War. They would have been facing the Union forces out there, and they were defending the area of the fort that way with their strategic lighthouse and Fort Esperanza. Yeah, and if you look on Google Maps, you can see that they zigzag, and here they're zigzagging on the ground. As I venture inside one of the trenches to film, I'm a bit concerned to find apparent signs of illegal digging and artifact hunting. I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to collect relics from this area, so this must have been a clandestine operation. What do you think was actually going on here? And am I correct in saying that it's illegal to take relics from Matagorda Island? Please let me know in the comment section below the video. Definitely, this gives you some good cover. You can see how they would have the cover of the brush, cover of the dirt here in the trenches. You have a very protected position to fire upon enemy Union troops incoming. And these trenches would have more or less extended from one beach to the other, one side of the island to the other.
because they were trying to protect this entire portion of the island from Union troops that were advancing on Fort Esperanza. Watch our step here. And yeah, it gets really overgrown over here. More and more questionable, but still, yeah, it's really intriguing to be walking here inside the once active Confederate trenches during the Civil War. Incredible that there are still places like this that you can still explore.
It defies belief to realize that despite the damage that time, erosion, and the elements have caused here, the fort's original defensive perimeter still stands intact after over a century and a half of storms, floods, and hurricanes. As a matter of fact, the amount of work that it must have taken to build this is humbling, as like I mentioned earlier, one of the abandoned Confederate trench lines was dug straight from one side of the island clear to the other, while traversing snake, alligator, and wild hog infested swamps and marshes. And this place actually saw action, with several soldiers killed, captured, or injured on either side of the battle lines. However, as amazing as it's been to find and explore this abandoned battlefield and lost network of overgrown Civil War trenches, it only increases my curiosity and intrigue. After all, if I've managed to find so much here, what lies hidden at the actual location of Fort Esperanza? In addition, our research has uncovered more information about the reported sunken city that we've still been unable to locate thus far, and we're still anxious to pinpoint and explore its exact location. So we set off in the boat once again and head towards the approximate reported coordinates of Fort Esperanza and the sunken city to see if we can find any traces of their ruins, which would now be approximately 200 years old.
Yeah, go all the way up so you can hold on to that platform.
Thank you, thank you. It's very shallow.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Yeah, I wouldn't go into the tall grass too much, guys. So this would be the approximate location of the old sunken ghost town of Saluria and the lost fort of Fort Esperanza. Yeah, the water's so beautiful, so clear today. That was a stingray, guys. Gotta be careful when walking around here, but it's really cool. There's so much sea life. We're going to be using the drone to see if we can find any traces of those lost locations in this surprisingly clear Gulf of Mexico water.
The city of Saluria, as it was known, was founded during the 1840s when businessman, politician, and signer of the Texas Declaration of Independence, James Power, and 3 other men designed and set up its town site. Over 300 lots were set aside for construction, and by 1850, the population of Saluria here on Matagorda Island exceeded 160 people, and there were carpenters, sailors, attorneys, and even one doctor doing business in the town. However, the development of this town was stopped cold in September of 1875 when Saluria was quite literally hurled into the sea by a ferocious hurricane, much like its better known sister city of Indianola, Texas, which I actually explored in one of my earlier videos. As a matter of fact, so thorough was the destruction of Saluria that this former town site was wiped altogether from the 1936 county highway map a few decades later. Although less dramatic, Fort Esperanza has also suffered a similar fate to Saluria at the hands of nature throughout the years. And in 1868, the eastern walls of the fort were destroyed as the shoreline was eroded by a ferocious storm. By 1878, the rest of the 9-foot-high, 20-foot-thick, turf-covered walls had completely eroded away into the sea. Thus, although my friends and I know it's a long shot, we spare no effort in scouring the beaches and shallow coastal waters of Matagorda Island on foot and with drones in an attempt to locate any possible signs of the now sunken locations of Saluria and Fort Esperanza. And what we find at their former reported coordinates is stunning. There in the shallow waters just off the coast of Matagorda Island lie straight mysterious lines in the seaweed, which seem to look like some form of city streets or maybe even building foundations. But honestly, we're ill-equipped to investigate much further. Are these lines natural or man-made? Please let me know what you think in the comment section below the video.
I believe that we actually saw traces of the old town because we saw some what seemed to be straight lines resembling roads when we were flying the drone. So please let me know in the comments if you think that those could be made by animals, made by erosion, or potentially signs of the old lost ghost town of Saluria at the bottom of the sea here. Yeah, the water is astoundingly clear here, guys, which has allowed us to film a lot of underwater targets with the drones, both some of the amazing wildlife here and also potentially old structures or foundations or roads from the lost sunken ghost town of Saluria.
After the deadly hurricane of 1875 that wiped out the unfortunate town of Saluria, the U.S. Life Saving Service built a lifeboat station in 1878 to assist in case of any future storms. According to historical records, a Daniel Simpson was appointed keeper of the Matagorda Island station on October 7th of 1880, while a J.T. Knight is the last name listed as the officer in charge in 1929 before the station was relocated and its buildings abandoned here. Although it is fascinating to see the abandoned ruins of this crumbling Coast Guard station from the 1800s from afar, I've gone too far to leave without actually trying to board it.
I don't know if it's concrete, but it looks solid at least. All right, so we got the Coast Guard station here from the 1800s. Let's see if we can go inside. Hopefully it's not too deep for our waders.
My first attempt fails, as the water level is too high to wade in, and the water simply starts pouring right into my waders. For my second attempt, I remove my waders altogether and decide to try to swim to the crumbling remains of the station.
Amazing. So far so good. I've had to swim a tiny bit, but not too much. And I'm almost there at the stairs. Wow, it's amazing. This is a piece of history, guys. This has been around for nearly 200 years. And it's still there. And we're going up here through these stairs. Alright, we are up. We just about made it. Almost took a dip with everything, but we survived. These are the remains of the Coast Guard station. One small step for man, one giant leap for Texas exploration. Sorry, birds. Sorry. It's for the sake of history. We made it! Oh, it's so cool. Huge thanks to Paul for piloting the drone. Look at this tile here. This would have been the second floor here at some point. Looks like there was a shower and a bathroom over here. And you've got some cactus growing over there. I'm not going to get too close because this doesn't look like it's very great shape, but it's amazing. Trip back in time, almost a couple hundred years. Wow. Yeah, so this would have been looks like a small shower here or something. Out of the way so you can see that. There are cactuses where the bathroom used to be. Let's see if we can take a look over there without the whole thing collapsing. Yeah, I don't know how many stories it had. Either 2 or 3 maybe. Not sure. And then here's another bathroom. So keep in mind, even though it's originally from the 1800s, it probably underwent multiple renovations before finally being abandoned a few decades ago. So that would explain the more recent looking tile and perhaps other amenities. But the basic structure, from what I understand, is from the early to mid 1800s.
What a wild experience. What did you think of the views, the ruins, and the wildlife at Matagorda Island? Would you charter a boat ride here yourself? Please let me know what you think in the comment section. Remember, every comment you make is much appreciated, as it really helps boost my videos on YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you on my next adventure.